What's going on, everyone? Nick or Catalyst here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing well. Alrighty folks, well, it's update time, which means there is a new time to kill, but it's not actually a new time to kill. It's an old time to kill disguised as a new time to kill, which makes it a new time to kill. Confusing enough as it is, it's the third time to kill as we've had in as many months, so that means there is a new meta, which means that there are new best weapons in each class. Fortunately, we have it kind of easy because if you were playing the game before November, then you already have somewhat of a good idea as to what weapons are the best to use. So in that aspect, this list of weapons isn't really going to hold too many surprises, but there are a few surprises, so make sure you stick around for them. But in a lot of ways, this video was a bit harder to make than the 5.2 best weapons video, just because with this time to kill, so many more weapons are viable now because of the lethality of the time to kill. So it was a little challenging to choose the 3 best weapons in every class, but enough chit chat, let's get into it. Like and subscribe if you end up enjoying this video and finding it useful. Let's get into it. As you can see on your screen, we are starting with the support class because this is the class that has seen the most turnaround and holds the most surprises, and we are starting off with the Lewis gun. Now you're probably thinking, wow, we are seeing Lewis gun gameplay already on this list. That must mean that it's not the best LMG anymore. And you'd be correct, it's not the best LMG anymore. The Lewis gun has been the king of the support class for over a year now, and it isn't until this patch that a new weapon has taken the throne, but that doesn't mean that the Lewis gun is a bad weapon. It's actually still a very strong weapon, and a lot of people will continue to use it because of its ability to get bullets downrange and get them down there quickly. If you enjoy spraying and praying, this weapon is still the king of doing just that. It's got a very suitable 539 rate of fire, and of course you have a 97 round magazine that you can put on if you want to, that can take out the entire push if you position yourself well enough, which is much easier to do now that the weapon has returned to its 4 to 7 bullet to kill count in this patch update. This is still going to be a lot of players' favorite LMG, but is it the best LMG? I'm not so sure. Next up for the support class, we have a bit of a tie between the FG42 and the bar. Now both weapons are extremely similar, which is why I've decided to combine them into one spot on this list. We all know what happened to the FG42 with the 5.2 update. It went from being one of the best LMGs to being the worst in the class, but now, and this is why the 6.2 update makes this video so easy to make, since the time to kill is back to almost normal, the FG42 is also almost back to normal, and it's still a very good LMG. I'm going to try and not get too many stats and charts in the video because it would take forever, but the most important thing is that the FG42 has returned back to its 4 to 7 BTK damage, and that makes it a very formidable weapon in the right hands. But as I said before, this spot is kind of tied with the bar, and the bar is interesting because I don't think it ever saw a world in which it played with the 5.0 time to kill. I think it was released a few weeks later in December, but regardless, I was a huge fan of the weapon in the 5.2 time to kill. I thought it was a skill cannon then, and it is still a skill cannon now when you get to those longer ranges, and I'm a fan of the weapon again here in the patch update. This is the weapon you'll want to be using if you're a support player and you are really feeling it, using the bar or the FG42 for that matter. It really depends on how you're feeling at the time because the two weapons are going to give you some different recoil spreads. The FG42 is more vertical, the bar is more horizontal, so I'd say go with the one that feels better in your hands, but they are both very similar, so you can't go wrong. Now on to the best weapon in the class, and this one might be a big surprise to you. It was to me anyways, and it's the Type 11 LMG. Now, this one came way out of left field to me, and when I was testing this weapon, I was half expecting it to be bad based on prior experiences, but I was honestly shocked. This gun is a beast, and I know that the gameplay in the background is me going off with it, but I promise you it's not just because it's my gameplay that it looks good. Wow, that sounded really egotistical. Moving on, yeah, this weapon is really good. This is, I believe, the most recent weapon to come into the game, so of course we had no idea what it would play like with this 6.2 time to kill, and even more so, it actually received an extra buff during the update, so its bullet velocity has been increased from the 5.2 update, and I think that buff makes all the difference here, and you can even add onto it in your specializations, so this weapon is hitting its mark, and it has even less recoil than the Lewis gun. The only downside, of course, is that there are only 30 bullets in the mag and the reload is very slow, but I think it offers a nice upside for skilled players who can use the top-up specialization. Those who can utilize that specialization can manage their reload, and this thing can become a force to be reckoned with more so than it already is. Statistically speaking, very similar to the Lewis gun, but again, that bullet velocity makes a difference, and it doesn't have that much recoil. I think it's balanced. It sounds really cool as well with the pings in the stripper clips. Not that that has anything to do with how good the weapon is, but just saying. Just a side note, I have seen people telling me a lot about the LS-26, a gun that fell off the face of the earth completely with 5.2, and it is also quite good. I just didn't feel like it packed enough punch, so consider it a close fourth on the list. So that's the support class. Now on to the meta class, and the rest of the video should fly by considering that there aren't many surprises left in the video. Of course, you should stick around to see the rest of the video, but if you've played the 5.0 time to kill, a lot of this is going to serve as validation for what you already know instead of information for what you don't know. So we're going to get going. Let's head to the meta class and talk about the Type 2A. Now, as you all know, the Type 2A got a pretty hefty nerf with this update, as it was well deserved, but is it still viable? I struggled with this a lot while making the video. I wanted to put the SMLE in this slot as well, but I think the Type 2A is going to be a lot more attractive to players because of what it is, and in the right hands, the Type 2A is still very strong. There is no better weapon within 15 meters that this weapon is designed for, and as I discussed in previous videos, you'd be surprised how many of your engagements actually take place within 15 to 20 meters, so if you can control the recoil, the Type 2A is still a monster of a weapon. You can feel the nerf in some cases, on others you can't. It relies a lot on the random recoil spread that you get, but for what it is, it's still strong and it's still going to be popular because of its rate of fire. Next on the list, we have the Tommy gun, aka the M1928A1, aka the Thompson submachine gun. This weapon, like a couple others on this list, is one that I have felt has always been meta in some capacity, even though it took a bit of a hit in 5.2. The meta that formed around close-range combat made sure that the Tommy gun wasn't affected too harshly, but now that we're back with a quicker time to kill, the Tommy gun is an elite tier selection for SMGs. It's been a fan favorite since the game came out. I don't really think there's much I can tell you that you don't already know. It's got a comfortably quick rate of fire and a 50-round mag if you want one, but I think you'll find it drops people relatively quickly no matter what specializations you run on it, and it has pretty decent hipfire as well. This is the all-around most complete weapon on the list. I actually wanted to put it at number 1, but I felt like another weapon was better, and that weapon is the ZK383. Now, the ZK was a weapon that I was absolutely falling in love with before DICE went and pushed Battlefield 5 off a cliff back in December, and now that the 6.2 update is here and the time to kill is almost fully reverted, I can say that this weapon is again a weapon that I absolutely adore. Again, probably not much that you don't already know about the ZK. Its viability is linked to its rate of fire specialization that you get as you unlock it, but once you have that unlocked, I think it's the best SMG in the game just because of its versatility. It feels light on the sticks, it'll give you some easier recoil to allow you to challenge long distance gunfights, and it can have a faster reload speed, and overall it's going to give you a little more punch damage wise than the Tommy gun or the SMLE, and it's going to be at longer ranges too. It also does have the bipod, which does give you some added leverage in holding down lanes that an SMG wouldn't otherwise normally give you, so that's nice in certain niche situations. It also has light in stock as an option for specializations, which allows you to stray faster while using the weapon, and I think that's the best specialization in the game, so that definitely helps it. The ZK overall is a great all-around SMG. It does a lot for you, and it does have some other small benefits that no other SMG can give you. Now moving on to the assault class. Again, not much here that you probably didn't already know. That's one of the challenges about making this video, is that these for the most part are values and stats that we've already seen before, and it's not necessarily new news. And again, it's also hard to make because there are so many weapons that are really good now, and I think that statement can really apply to the assault class more than any other class. Now that DMRs or SLRs or semi-auto assault rifles, however you call them, are going to be really strong again. But as you can see, we are starting off talking about the STG. The STG-44 is personally one of my favorite weapons in the game. It's the weapon I main in competitive matches. I have a lot of time with it, and it's always been a gun that's been right in the center of the meta. Truthfully, since the beta. Is it still a viable option? Yes, but you will feel its nerfs at range at times. If you put a 3-scope on it and have really good recoil control, it's not going to bother you as much, but you can feel the nerfs. but at medium range there is very little that can beat it. It is also one of the few assault rifles that has light in stock as an option, so it's going to allow you to move and strafe a little bit quickly, making it a little bit more viable in closer situations, even though the hip fire isn't really that great. So even though it does have those long range capabilities, it's still going to be somewhat viable at close range. It's really a still very meta, very centrally based good assault rifle. Next on the list is the Turner SMLE. Now this was a weapon that pre 5.0 I thought was a sleeper pick for the best weapon in the entire game, and after DICE massacred my boy in the 5.2 update, it, like the rest of the semi-autos, became practically useless, but now it's back and better than ever. It's my pick for the best DMR in the game simply because of what you can do with it based on your playstyle. It can potentially have the second most rounds in a clip behind the Gewehr 1.5 if you elect to go down that specialization tree, or it does have a magazine specialization as well. So depending on whether you plan on using the weapon more deliberately or running in and out and reloading like a madman like me, it caters to all playstyles and it's quite powerful no matter which way you go with it. But that's the thing. You can say that about a lot of the semi-autos in this update, whether it's the Gewehr 43 or the Gewehr 1.5, the Sepsplatter 1916, they are all good in their own unique ways. The only reason that the Turner is on the list over the rest is, as I said, it's my personal favorite, and I think it's the most versatile out of the bunch. But truthfully, for this spot, I might as well say insert your favorite DMR here and that will do just fine. The DMRs across the board have been buffed, or I shouldn't say buffed, I guess I should say probably returned to their natural state. It feels really good to be able to kill in 3 shots again. It applies a great counter to snipers who also got a buff in this patch update. So it's a really good set of weapons now. I think you're going to see people using them a lot more, but if I had to choose one for the list, as I've said, the Turner SMLE is going to take it for me just because of how much it can do depending on your playstyle. And now to finish off the assault class, we have the Sturm Gewehr 1.5. This thing right now is the best weapon in the game in my opinion, for whatever that's worth to you, and I am having an absolute blast playing with it currently. It's a short to medium range assault rifle that has good recoil and tap fire, and if you do tap fire and have that good recoil control, it can stretch itself out to distances and get really long range kills. It's light, it's easy to use, doesn't have too much kick to it, it doesn't feel clunky, and it has a very quick reload if you don't finish off the clip. This is actually the only weapon currently besides the Type 2A that I feel needs tweaking, as it is very strong. It's because of the weapon's tap fire ability that makes it so strong, and really it allows skilled players to play outside of its intended range. It's got a very respectable rate of fire as well, making it better than a lot of the slow firing SMGs. So if you are looking for an SMG type weapon but having the perks of the assault class, the Sturm Gewehr is an easy choice that handles nicely and is all around the best weapon in the game currently. You can try the M2 Carbine or the M1907 in that type of SMG sort of assault rifle slot, but I think the Sturm Gewehr is just going to be better across the board every single time. Now to finish off the video with the Recon class, we aren't going to go with a list like the other 3 classes, but instead I'm just going to talk a little bit about the state of the class as it is right now, because as you all know, or if you haven't known, bolt action rifles got a bullet velocity buff, so they are more or less very similar in performance now. But as for the self-loading rifles such as the Model 8 and the ZH, where do those weapons fall in the meta? Well, they aren't as strong as they were in the 5.2 time to kill, and I disagree with a lot of the other YouTubers telling you to use these rifles. I think you'll get better value out of playing with an assault DMR rather than a Recon class semi-auto, personally. Now, I think the ZH is strong still and it's the best semi-auto out of the bunch, but the update really forces you to play back with these rifles since the DMRs and the assault class are so strong, and they will probably beat you if the DMR user is more accurate. And at that point, you are pushing the limits as to the effectiveness of something like the ZH at those ranges, and at those ranges, especially with the amped up bullet velocity, I think a sniper rifle is better. You'll get more value out of it. This update really puts these semi-autos in a weird place. You sort of have to play the middle range, and that's something that I think a lot of people are going to struggle with, especially with how strong these rifles were previously. Now, as for the actual bolt action rifles, I think it's pick your favorite, and you can't really go wrong. I happen to still very much enjoy the Kar 98, as you can see in the background gameplay. This is the rifle that that feels the best to me right now. I think the Ross is still kind of meh. It's always felt kind of meh to me, so if you're looking for a rifle not to use, I think it would be the Ross, but my buddy Flu TV would strongly disagree with me on that. But sniping is a very personally charged activity. Weapons feel different to different players, and I think it's really a case of just pick your favorite rifle, and you can't really go wrong, as I said. I don't think the P08 or the Trench Carbine are going to be particularly viable, so those weapon classes are not really going to be seen so much. I haven't seen too many people running around with them, so I think a lot of people are steering away from them, so those weapons might be in need of a small buff, but other than that, this completes the list of the best weapons in the game after the 6.2 update. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you found out something useful and enjoyed the video, make sure that you like the video and share it. This helps me out more than you know. If you are new here, subscribe to the channel for more Battlefield content. If you are looking to support me in other ways, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button on your desktop or clicking the link in the description below, and you can find out the benefits for becoming a channel member. I will probably be live streaming this afternoon as this video goes live, so feel free to come by and say hi after you are done watching. Follow me on Twitter, join my Discord. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Nick, or Catalyst, and I will see you all another time.